The reason why I wanted to talk about these things that go in pairs, if you checked my website and you saw that there is a pair, creation of the world, and then next to it, incarnation of the Son of God. Because very often people neglect reading Old Testament, and because Old Testament gives us quite a hard time sometimes, especially when we read about all the massacre that there is happening and all the stuff that God commands to do, and people kind of want to do or don't want to do, or when people behave or they do not behave, and God has to somehow bring them back to their senses, so to speak. So this misconception of the Old Testament, which is by the Orthodox Church viewed as a kindergarten for the New Testament. So New Testament is a continuation from the Old Testament. And since we know that God does not change, however, we have such different gods in Old Testament and New Testament, how do we put this together? So because we are close to this Christmas season, I thought it would be very good for us to speak about how God was taking care of the people or of the world that He created, to the point when we, instead of praying God is with us, if you saw the last lecture for this theme, is God is with us, and the next one, the pair to it, is we are with God, right? How this happened that finally we can say both sentences, God is with us and we are with God. Because all the history before Christ's incarnation was only God was with us. We were not with God, but He was with us. He was faithful to His promises. We weren't. By saying we, I mean humankind in general. Christ is in our midst, dear friends. Sorry for the interruption. I just want to inform you that this video, because it's too long, has chapters. You can refer to them by scrolling down to the description to this video. And now back to the topic. So the Orthodox Church teaches, preaches, expresses this view that the creation of the world by the Triune God, and you can ask me questions about creation, and we will say a few words about evolution today. Is it heretical or not? Who? The creation of the world and the incarnation of the Word of God for the salvation of humanity, this is viewed as some sacramental things that happened in the life of humankind. But these things are also very important in the life of the Holy Trinity. It's strange, you know, we are using language that we kind of use in our own conversations, like life of the Holy Trinity. What does it mean, life of the Holy Trinity within itself, right? You can't say that they have life, or I mean that the Trinity has life or does not have life. Trinity is God. Of course, God is always alive. But still, we will see how the entire Trinity takes full part in creation of the world. And we will probably say a few words about why, when you see an icon of creation of the world, you will see Jesus depicted there, Jesus creating the world. And it is very interesting. Maybe you know it, and that will be much easier on me then. But anyway, these events, creation of Adam and incarnation of the Son of God, both these events are very central in our Orthodox theology. Theology because there is no straight connection. When God creates Adam, there is no indication that there will be Christ, although Christ was already ready to come into this world. But the first Adam, made from the earth and created in God's image and His likeness, represents both the ideal and the downfall of humanity. When he was created, he represents both, because at first he was a man. Those Adam and Eve were humans that were supposed to keep the union with God, be in unity with God. However, they had this possibility, this freedom. And we will talk why that freedom was needed, why God just didn't create Adam and Eve in the way that he would just point them, you do that, and they said, yes, master, and go doing it. And that's why we have all this freedom of choice. And we can choose many things in our lives. But let's say the first Adam was made in God's image and likeness, represents both the ideal of humanity and the downfall of humanity. However, the second Adam, I know that you read the New Testament already many times, and you know about Jesus being called the new Adam. And we'll discuss a little bit why he is called the new Adam. The second Adam, Jesus Christ, enters history not just to fix what was broken. This is a very big misconception of why Jesus came to this earth. Many denominations, I am not going to name them, but you probably will know, they preach that Jesus came to fix what was broken. The Orthodox Church is always unique, basically in everything. So the second Adam, Jesus Christ, of course he comes to fix what was broken, but he doesn't stop there. He begins something entirely new creation. If you remember the book of Revelation, it's I don't remember now the chapter, probably 21. It just came to my mind. I didn't take the quote, but the quote goes like this: "Here I am, creating everything new," or something like that. Yeah, I'm translating into English from Russian. I know it by heart in Russian, but so this is what is happening in the incarnation of the Son of God. So when we put these two, creation of the world, creation of Adam and Eve, first humans, and creation and incarnation of Jesus Christ, it means that he came to fix what was broken. And here again, the Orthodox Church is unique in defining what was broken. We will talk about it as well. So today we're going to talk not only about the role of the Trinity in creation from nothing, and not only about Christ's incarnation as a renewal of creation, but also about how Orthodox teaching engages with questions about evolution and science. It is really important to understand the Orthodox point of view. Again, there are so many misconceptions and so many, I would say, I heard myself many priests preach Orthodox priests preach not what Orthodox Church teach. Well, there is no teaching about evolution, of course, but they do not express the Church's view on the situation. They tend to cling to one of the Protestant versions of this explanation. What is our attitude towards evolution? We'll talk about it briefly, but we will. So how does the Holy Trinity take part in the creation of the world? Orthodox Christianity teaches that the world did not come about by chance. So Big Bang, you want Big Bang. Okay, we will talk later why we can accept Big Bang and why we can accept evolution. We will talk. And how we can accept Big Bang and evolution. If it's by chance, that Big Bang is not accepted by the Orthodox. If it was by command of God, that's when we can accept it, right? Can view it, not accept it as a teaching. We cannot say that this is the teaching of the Church. The teaching of the Church is the truth that is evident 100%. If something is not 100% sure from the Bible, from the teaching of the Fathers, then we have this freedom of expressing our beliefs, how we believe. However, there is a main kind of red line that goes through the entire thing. If the Big Bang, if evolution was caused by God, if people accept it, then we can work on this. We can see how it could be justified to the point. But we cannot throw out God So the Orthodox point of view, we do not throw out God from that theory of evolution or Big Bang theory, right? We cannot throw God out of that. At this point, science is strictly kind of standing on the grounds that there was no God, right? It just happened. What happened? I don't know. What burst? Where that burst come from? Big Bang, or what caused it, or whatever? They don't give that answer. The church gives the answer, but they don't. But we are not a scientific community, thank God. Yeah, we were digging how wide was that dot that caused the Big Bang, right? We would be doing all kinds of nonsense instead of looking inside what's wrong with me, what Big Bang is going to happen inside of my heart, all of a sudden, from all that stuff that is being accumulated, bad stuff that is being accumulated, and then it bursts. And too bad if you are in the range, in the range of that burst, you know. So the Orthodox Christianity kind of never taught that the book of Genesis is the instruction, or the, let's say, the what do you call it? The protocol of things that were happening. So somebody was sitting and writing. Moses. Okay, God, stop. I forgot to write that. Okay, now continue. No, so it's not a protocol of what was happening. It's not the story how it was happening. It's a story of spiritual presence of God throughout the entire history. That's what Bible is. That's how the Orthodox Church sees it, views it. So Saint Basil the Great says, we should understand in the creation the original cause of the Father as a founding cause. So this is we are going back to how the Holy Trinity took part in the creation. We should understand in the creation the original cause of the Father as a founding cause. We will be talking about three causes here. Founding cause, that's God the Father. Then the cause of the Son as creative. That's why he is depicted on the icon of creation of the world. Partially because of that. And the cause of the Spirit as an implementing one. Creating, implementing, and original cause as a founding cause. So the community of three persons participates actively in the execution of the whole of God's plan. So in other words, creation is a shared work of the Trinity. Now, try to remember this. Through the Son, by the Holy Spirit. But each person of the Holy Trinity has this causality, causes something, right? For this world to come into being. And we strongly believe that God creates world out of nothing. But before that, I just want to bring the quote from St. John of Damascus. The world is created. That means the world came out of nothing. There was no world before it sprang up and came into being. Only the world exists in time, in change, succession, and duration. So this is the only world that has ever existed. This is how we teach, this is how we believe. And we believe so because we see from the Bible how step by step there is a reason in everything. We see that reason. Well, not we individually, but as a church, now we see that reason in every step of creation. So when we say that God creates everything out of nothing, it means that he did so freely and out of love, not because he had to. Remember we spoke one time, I think Christopher found the right answer, right? Because he, or you did, Sarah.
I don't even know what he's going to say.
Well, remember.
See? Why God created the world? So do you remember your answer, right? Because he could, right? That's it. Because he could. That was the only reason, because he could. Well, that is very simple, a very simplified version, of course, but still, So he chooses to make this world, to create this world. So this act itself shows his goodness. God chooses to create the world. We don't know the exact reason why. But he creates, but by analyzing his creation and the top of his creation, the human, by analyzing creation of first humans, we can say that he created it so that we could kind of reflect his love and reflect his deity. That's why in the Orthodox Church we teach about salvation as theosis, becoming like God, God-like. So Saint Athanasius the Great, he has a book on the Incarnation. He made all things out of nothing through his own word, our Lord Jesus Christ, and of all these his earthly creatures he reserved especially mercy for the race of men. Saint Gregory Nazianzen, God legislates human self-determination. In creation, authentic freedom exists. The human can pursue God or turn away, and creation itself participates in the drama of freedom. Drama, well, we know how it evolved, the drama of our freedom. But I want to stop here and say a few words that creation of nothing, it was very important for the Israelites, for the people, the chosen people of God for that time when Moses gave all these writings, wrote Genesis, or the author of Genesis, I should say, wrote all this. It was important because they just came out of Egypt. And there were many gods who were fighting, who were, well, some gods were like God the Son from their gods, went and killed his father because he didn't want to listen to what his father was telling him to do, commanding him to do. And his godfather, well, wasn't very good to his godmother, Mother God. Or how do you put it? The other way, right? Mother God. So Mother God tells him, you go and kill him, your father, and you'll be ruling the earth. So these Israelites came out of the land of Egypt with this kind of ideas. And God wanted to show them that all that they've learned in the land of Egypt, it makes no sense because there's only one God. Those gods, they knew it, that those gods created this world out of substance that was already there. And here Bible shows our God, the one true God, that is above the substance, above everything, above the matter that God takes and creates this world. There was nothing. So it was important for them, and it is important for us now as well to understand this, that there was nothing. And nothing means nothing, not just like I was listening to one of the doctors of theology, I think, something like that, PhD in theology he had from one of the Protestant churches, and he started kind of going sideways and up and down and trying to figure out what nothing means. That nothing, if there was nothing, then nothing was something, because it was. So by using just our human language, we cannot just go outside of space and time and say that this is how it was, because there was no time. We cannot say it was, right? See, okay.
Nothing means there was not even an idea.
Nothing existed. Exists only God. Nothing else exists in prehistorical, let's say, reality. So it was important for them. For us, it is important to know that God, we will talk about it later, but I am going to make the jump. For us, why it is important to know, because we are shown, God demonstrates that He creates out of nothing such a humongous world, right? And He places us humans there as His image, as that were created in His image, in His likeness, and He places us to rule this world. So He gives us such a great honor to take care of the world created by God, for us, created for us. So if there was something, let's say, before creation of the world, then it wouldn't be so important, right? Then humankind wouldn't be so important to God, because there was something, maybe somebody else wasn't good enough, and God just put back together into one big kind of dot, yeah, and then He burst it again. Okay, let's try again. That world didn't work out, let's try again. So we do not believe that there was something before. God creates out of nothing, out of His desire, so to speak. And here, the Orthodox understanding about Adam as image and likeness of God. It is crucially important to know the right understanding, the Orthodox understanding. You know the quote when God says, "Let us make man in our image and in our likeness." And today we will be referring to in the beginning, or how? We will be referring to that quote as well. But for now, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. So the church fathers, they distinguish here between image and likeness. Sometimes they say, what's image and likeness? It's easy, right? You're just like God. So what do you mean like God? Does it mean that God has my all kind of ears and hands and I don't know, no glasses? He doesn't have glasses, I guess, but eyes and tongue and everything, yeah. So we'll talk about that as well. But the church fathers make a careful distinction between image, which is in Greek, icon.
Image?
Image.
Image is
Icon.
icona.
Icona, yeah, icona. And likeness. And likeness, what is in likeness in Greek?
I'll get back to you on that.
Homeosis. Homeosis?
I don't know that word. Sorry.
That's from ancient Greek. Homeosis. So there is likeness, homeosis, and there is icona, or image. So that's why we have icons, images, right? These are different, and we will talk about the differences. So the image refers to the gifts every person receives: reason, spirit, freedom. We spoke about what an image of God in us is. But the likeness, the Holy Fathers say that it is our potential. It is what we are turning into slowly, becoming like God-like, but becoming not just because we were planted into the pot and we are growing. God is watering us and we're growing. All of a sudden, there is a fruit, and God cracks that fruit open and says, "Oh, here is my likeness." It's not like that. What God gives us, He gives us this opportunity, this freedom, right? Like His image, part of His image is freedom. But to become like God, we need to be constantly fed upon His grace. So partially it is true that we are in the pot, growing under His supervision. But also we have to do the virtues. We have to change. We have to try, not try, but we have to kind of, from our side, give something, so to speak, help God. Yeah, our efforts. We need to do our efforts to grow spiritually. So basically, by using our image, we grow into likeness. Using our image, we grow into likeness of God. But the end of that likeness will be love for all. You remember, Corey, I know. So love for all, it will be the end of our, well, when we love everybody with the same love, with God's love, then it means that we are where? We are in His likeness already. We are like Him, God-like. But that will never happen while we are still here on earth. No matter how close the holy people, saints, were close, how close they were to Christ, we only call them godlike after the church sees everything that was happening to them. While they were still alive, although some of the people could see, or some of the Christians could see their holiness and their closeness to God, but they themselves would never recognize that they are so close to God that they can be called, I don't know, gurus or something like that. No, I brought this example to many times already about Ava Pimen or Pimen, who was on his deathbed. His face was kind of like shining like sun, spiritually, not with the physical light, of course, but you can tell right away that that person is bright. And the brothers were standing around his bed, his deathbed, and asking him for, give us your final blessing, and what should we do in order to be saved, and how we should. And he said, you pray for me because I am one of the worst sinners on this earth. I don't even know if I started my path towards Christ. So this is how they viewed it. They understood that they needed to be close to God, but they would never allow themselves to think that I am so close to God that that's enough. I don't need to do anymore. Right? That would be a spiritual delusion, basically. So this image and likeness of God that first Adam received, well, we'll talk what happened a little bit later, but you know already. So. Now, why humankind is so unique, or why the Orthodox Church teaches and preaches that the creation of humans is unique, and we do not kind of, and even if we were to accept the evolution as it is now, as it is proposed to us, we cannot accept that it was just another chain in the, well, in that lots of change, lots of happenings, one after another, because we believe strongly that God, when God created humans, it was something special. That act was special. That act was giving life, whatever that meant at that moment, right? Now we know, as when the theologians explained it to us, that it was our human soul that we received, that breath. But we will talk about this as well in the framework of evolution when we touch it a little bit later too. So don't shy away. So human beings are unique because we bring together both spiritual and physical realities in us. Physical and spiritual realities are intertwined. We have both realities. While this created world outside of us human beings has only physical reality, we have both physical and spiritual reality. Or invisible world, they have only spiritual reality. They don't have physical reality, only spiritual reality. But as humans, we have both physical and spiritual reality connected inside of us, within us. And that's why we are unique out of all creation. Our calling is to be what? What do you think? Okay, God creates these poor guys and gals, you know, and okay, you do what you have to do. Okay.
Like a bridge?
I remember to know God.
Pardon me?
To know God.
To know God, yeah, but what is our calling? Our calling, it means what are practical things that we should be doing after we were created by God. Okay, you have to have
The bridge both worlds, like physical and spiritual.
Say, go forth and multiply and have dominion over.
Yes, go. So our calling is to be stewards of this world. Would you agree? But on the other hand, well, not on the other hand, but in addition to this, we are called to be priests for the entire creation. If you recall, I don't know how long in the past you were present at the Holy Divine Liturgy, but you probably remember from that time that a priest, when there's a culmination of anaphora, right? Priest takes the chalice and the paten with bread and chalice with wine. He raises his hands up, and what does he say? Offering unto thee thine own of thine own, on behalf of all and for all. So this is what our calling was supposed to be from the very beginning. We were supposed to subdue this earth in such a way so that we would sanctify it by the grace of God, because we would be, let's say, feeding on the grace of God, so to speak, and bringing this world to perfection together with us in offering to God. Because this world would have to be the reflection of God. Only when there is a God and reflection of God, the full happiness is possible. What we, and in our tradition, we call it heavenly kingdom. Only when the full reflection there is. Because at that point, entire creation gives glory to God, not through us humans, of course, but entire creation. So the vision, Saint Maximus the Confessor. Do you guys read, have you ever read Saint Maximus? I told you already to read. Okay, but he says he has such beautiful pieces. But he says that human role is to unite the created and uncreated through love and knowledge, actualizing the potential for deification. Humanity is called to gather all creation and offer it back to God as a sacrament of thanksgiving. So all creation is being raised up in that chalice and on that paten, on that plate that priest raises. Thine own of thine own. This is yours from what is yours. Nothing is ours. So by recognizing this, we give thanks to God on behalf of the entire creation. That's why we call the Holy Liturgy Heavenly Kingdom in power here on earth. Because there is already God and there is reflection to God of all creation in the liturgy. So that's why it is so important for us to understand this. So this vision of humanity depends on freedom, reason, and will. That's what our attributes are as human beings, being an image of God. We are made for relationship with God, for relationship with each other, and for the relationship with this world. So the key word in creation is staying in relationship. And now we are slowly going into the fall of first humans, Adam and Eve, and we will see that instead of this building up this relationship with God, between us and with the world, we ended up breaking every single relationship there was. We broke the relationship with God. We broke relationship with each other. You remember Cain and Abel, right? We broke relationship with this world. Instead of subduing, we are kind of using it without even thinking what's going to happen to this world. So that's what is happening. The story of Adam and Eve is not just a symbol. It's both a real event and a pattern that reveals deeper truths. In trying to become gods without God, that's what we were tricked into, right? You eat that apple or whatever. What did they eat? Apple or what? What was it? Banana. Banana, okay. That was banana, okay. Is banana fruit?
No,
Yeah. It's a grass. No, it is.
it's a grass.
I don't know. I'm asking.
It's a grass.
Because it says the fruit. Yeah, but I don't know what kind of fruit, but people kind of came to think
Tomato.
that it was,
Tomato.
yeah.
That's bottoming it up.
But anyway, We were tricked into becoming gods without God. We are so smart, of course. We know better. So by doing that, we broke away from the Creator. And the Orthodox teaching differs here from the Western ideas of inherited guilt. That's why we do not preach that we have original sin. There is no such thing in the Orthodox Church as original sin. We are not guilty of what Adam and Eve had done. That's not our guilt. But we carry the consequence of their deeds because they were the originators of human race. We inherit, we teach, a broken condition. Corruption, mortality, and tendency towards sin. That's what we inherit. That's what we need to fight. With great struggle, we have to overcome it, of course. But this brokenness affects everything. We spoke about the separation from God, inner conflict, inside of us. Let's say, and I made this example before too, and you heard it probably, that my soul wants to go to a dance. My belly wants me to go and buy some shish kebab or something like that, yeah. And my spirit wants to pray. And who do I listen to? Yeah. So this inner conflict, as a result, we inherit this inner conflict. We do not inherit the guilt. We are not guilty in the sin of Adam and Eve. We just inherited the results of that sin. Just like, that would be probably a really bad example, but sometimes when parents are using drugs or something and their children are born with certain disabilities afterwards, not necessarily, but it happens, right? So that's why I say it's probably not a very good example, but still, we can relate a little bit to what happened with Adam. And we, as their offspring, we are affected by that sin. Then broken relationships. Again, I don't want to bring that again to you, Cain and Abel, right? Broken relationship. Families were kind of destroyed. Cain had to run away from his family. Then struggle with nature. Yeah? Instead of caring for creation, we dominate and damage it. Instead of bringing it together and offering to Christ as priests, that's why, by the way, we are all Christians are called royal priesthood, right? Because we are still in it. We were through incarnation of the Son of God, the new creation was possible, but we can adhere to that new creation. We are not recreated. We can adhere to that creation, which we will talk about a little bit later. And that brokenness that we broke away from the source of life and from the source of grace that sustained us, was supposed to sustain us, decay and death came as a result. So suffering and fading of the likeness, that's what we experience right now. So when we say that God the Son, He destroyed death, what do we mean by that? We are still dying.
Eternal death?
Pardon me?
Like our souls die? Or spirits die?
Okay. Okay, you're not ready yet to answer this question. So a little bit later, I'll give you some more information. But now we will briefly go to the principle of creation. The idea of the Logos, Christ is the Word. In the beginning was the Word. See, I said it right. And all things were created through Him. Well, I jumped a little bit. John chapter 1. You know this chapter because we read it during our Paschal liturgy. And archi in ologos ke ologos in proston theon ke theos in ologos. Was it Close?
That was not bad, yeah. That was
No, not bad.
So in the beginning was
The word.
the word of
The word, yeah.
Yeah.
The word is logos, and logos is sometimes understood not only the word, it could be idea, it could be many other things. But in Orthodox theology, creation isn't just a one-time event. Mark this, it is not a one-time event. It is not that God created the world, He threw His toolbox into His shed, and He forgot about the world. Okay, I created it, you do whatever you want to do. He doesn't want to even look at the toolbox. He turned on the next season of some kind of a serial and he's watching. No. With God, it's not like that. Creation is not a one-time event. It continues up to this day. That's what the Orthodox Church teaches. That's why we have this teaching about what? When God continuously works with people and looks after the people. What do you call it? God's providence. Yeah, because He's continuously creating, He's continuously making things possible for us. Everything has meaning and purpose through the divine Logos, who is Christ. Again, St. Maximus the Confessor, he's the best here, but I'm not going to read his quote. It's too much already for us, too many quotes. Orthodox theology teaches that the laws of nature, the purpose of creation, and its beauty are all expressions of God's intentions for each creature. So there were not, for each creature that He created has this purpose from God, has its beauty, and has expression of God's intention. We should look for that expression. Why this was given to us? Why do we need this in our lives? By the way, in our spiritual lives, in our spiritual development, we need to pay attention to those things too. Sometimes we go through the period or through the time of temptations and we wonder, why do I need all this? Well, why would I need to go through all of it? But all of a sudden, after we went through it, looking back, we realize, oh yeah, I needed it because it kind of it broken my pride, it broken my desire to maybe to shine more than you can shine. So God makes everything for a reason. That's what we believe in the Orthodox Church. And that's why the Incarnation is kind of interesting within the Orthodox theology. As St. Maximus says, the Incarnation was planned before the ages. Can you imagine this? Planned before the ages. Well, to say word planned, it kind of takes time to plan, right? But it was before time. So for the lack of better words, that's what theologians use. The Incarnation was planned. So God knew ahead of time that this is what's gonna happen. But without this, the reflection of Him was not possible because there would be no freedom. We could reflect just about everything. But God has this attribute, freedom. And if we didn't have, there would be no reflection. There would be no offering for all, on behalf of all and for all would not be possible. Because you have to do this offering being free. You have to freely give this thanksgiving. You have to be free to thank person. It's not a tape recorder. Well, now it's not a tape recorder. It's an MP3 player or whatever now it is. Not even that. It's not some kind of a audio file that you can God can play and enjoy listening to how the creatures were supposed to thank me, right? It's not like that. It doesn't work like that. It works that it has to be ontological. It has to be free and from the bottom of our hearts and with a desire to be with God. Because God has desire to be with us. And our desire to be with Him, that's what makes us two as one. By the way, that's why the church is viewed as what?
Body.
Pardon me?
Body of Christ.
Body of Christ, but before that?
Bride.
A bride,
Yeah.
exactly, as a bride. A wedding is here, right? Because God and the church, they are united. Finally. right? So that's what is happening in the Holy Divine Liturgy. And by becoming one, God is God by essence, we become God-like by grace, and we become one. We reflect God, God is God, and we reflect God, and that's when this happiness can happen, which is called heavenly kingdom. So the Incarnation, we'll switch quickly to the Incarnation, isn't just a response to sin. So it was planned. Remember what St. Maximus said. It was planned before. It was not just a response to our sin. God knew that we would sin. He could create us the way that we would be sinless from the very beginning. But there would be no freedom. So He creates us with freedom, knowing that we will go 100%, we will go away. We will neglect Him and we will break relationship with Him. And He knows that He will have to become one of us in order to bring us to restore that relationship. So it is not only creation, incarnation in the Orthodox Church is used not only as to fix what was done by sin. It was to sustain this unity throughout the ages, is so that people could see that God, using His free will, cares for us, cared for us all this time. He cares for us now. He never stopped caring for us. That was the main point, to understand that the incarnation of the Son of God was, or Christ as new Adam enters this broken world, not only to heal it, but to begin something new. Something new had to start out of this relationship. Because the old Adam could not experience this happiness, because he was not reflecting God. A new Adam had to be brought into this world, who would be able to make this reflection and show others how to reflect God in their own lives. So that's why the creation the incarnation of the Son of God was needed, not just to heal, but to create a new creation that would be able to reflect God and to make this offering unto Thee on behalf of all and for all. Christ fulfills in Himself all that Adam was meant to be, but failed. He is the perfect human, obedient to His Father's will, right? We were supposed to be obedient, right? But we wanted bananas, as you said, right? We ate bananas and we kind of had to suffer after that. The fruit, of course.
But Father, He knew that Adam and Eve would sin.
Yes. He knew. Yeah, He knew. Yeah. That's why it was decided by the Council of the Holy Trinity, if you wish to put it this words, before even this world was created, not just Adam and Eve, but the world before was created. How this world is going to be created in order for us to be able to come back to Him. Yeah. So we, as His reflection of His love, of His grace, we would have to come back to Him, to reflect Him, and to unite with Him once again. As St. Paul writes, "For as in Adam all die, so in Christ shall all be made alive." So this theme runs deeply through the writings of the Fathers and the hymns of the Church. I am not going to read all the quotes, but the main thing is that Christ fully enters human life. We know this, and that's why I wanted to talk about it before Christmas, because we will talk about His birth, we will talk and think and meditate on His growth, on His temptations, on His suffering later on, next year already, His death, but of course without sin, and His obedience unto death, even death on the cross, undoes Adam's disobedience. So whatever Adam and Eve, well, Adam in general, let's say humankind, so that I don't say all the time humankind, let's use the word Adam. By the way, word Adam is both plural and singular, meaning human as singular and humankind as plural. So we can use that name anyway. So Adam does these things And Jesus Christ does what Adam was supposed to do, but never came to doing. Adam and Eve are depicted on the icon of resurrection as on our Orthodox icon of resurrection. You remember that Christ stands on the gates of hell, and he holds the hands of Adam and Eve and takes them out, so to speak, of Hades. So this is what incarnation is a second creation. That's why I put this creation of the world and incarnation of the Son of God. It can be viewed as a second creation of new people. That's why I started with the quote from the book of Revelation, that here I am creating all new. Everything is new. The church's theology and hymnography celebrate Christ descent into Hades and celebrates his resurrection and celebrates his ascension, and all this together shows us that in him the promise of God to bring humankind, to bring Adam into the happiness, into the union with God, is fulfilled. So now what we need to do in order to be part of that process of salvation. So say Irenaeus taught that the Son of God became what we are so that he might bring us to be what he is himself. See, I know you know the quote of St. Athanasius, God became man so that man can become God. So that's a popular quote. And this teaching of Orthodox Church about the importance of the incarnation of the Son of God, because it is viewed as a second creation, as a new creation of a new person. So we need, you remember the conversation of Christ with Nicodemus about being born again, right? And he says he couldn't understand, how am I going to go back and then being born again? And all of a sudden being born again means to accept what new Adam has to offer. So since first Adam freely broke the relationship, a new Adam freely restored the relationship. And if I want to be with new Adam, if I want to reap the consequences of the new Adam's deeds of Jesus Christ, I want to be like him. And God gives us this opportunity to be born again through baptism. Not only through baptism, even through
Communion, confession.
confession. Even through confession. Because every confession is basically renewal of a person. So we can be renewed as many times as it is needed for God to bring us into that happiness. Poor cats, they only have 9 lives. And our God can renew us as many times as it is needed for us to be brought back to him. So, you want to talk about evolution or not, or we're going home? Orthodox perspective on evolution, science and human origin. So modern science raises big questions about the origins of the universe and humanity. Of course, when you read the Bible, there is, and if you count the years, and it comes to close to 6,000 years, right? Well, more or less, right? But here, the science tells us not just millions, billions of years, right? Who's right here? Of course, us. We're smart ones, right? So let's talk seriously about it, because the Orthodox Church approaches these questions with humility and discernment. There is no official dogma on specific theories like the Big Bang or biological evolution. Instead, the Church affirms these things. And these affirmations I took out of the decisions of various of the holy synods of various local Orthodox churches. Specifically, if you want to read the standing of OCA, our church on evolution, it's on the website of OCA. You can read it. Greek Orthodox Church, they have it as well. We do not differ. Don't worry in this. So first and foremost, what we need to, even if you're viewing evolution as a biological evolution, right? First and foremost, what the Orthodox Christian cannot leave outside of any theory of creation, that God created everything from nothing. God created everything from nothing. If it can be woven into the theory, a theory of revolution and evolution, any theory of evolution, then we could say, yeah, it could be the one, right? Second, that humanity is unique and made in God's image and likeness. Once again, we will talk about how humanity, we talked about how humanity is unique, and we talked about how created in God's image and likeness, and what does Church understands under the name of Adam. Then, that all matter is good, so everything that God uses to create this, well, not uses to create, everything that God created is good, because those are His own words in the Bible. Yeah, God created, and He looked at it and said, "Oh, that looks nice." Yeah, that was good. And the fourth kind of point that the Church affirms that we need to keep in mind while going through different theories of evolution or big bangs or whatever it is, that our calling, we are called to union with God. If the theory, any theory of creation of this world, has it that, well, we are just, I don't know, mushrooms that just popped up all of a sudden because there was moisture and there was the right time and right conditions, and we just popped up of the world and we were created for no reason, right? We cannot accept that theory. While we can view the theory of evolution as a continuation, because we don't know actually. We don't know up to this day what that day of the Bible actually mean. What does it mean? One day passed. Is it a day in our understanding day? Is it a 24-hour day? Is it just 12 hours in a day, like daylight, right? Is it a day as a period? We up to this day, we don't have dogma on that because it was not revealed to us. So I guess that's why the Orthodox Church teaches we have to approach to any theory of creation of the world with humility, because we don't know many things. And if you remember the Desert Fathers, how they taught that when you're not sure if it's true or not, do not accept but do not reject. That's a golden rule.
Oh, that's right. But in the Bible it says, with God it could be like 1,000.
Yes.
1,000.
Again, 1,000. That was a very, very popular saying. I mean, using the number 1,000. 1,000 years, it just meant a lot, a whole lot. So it wasn't just exactly 1,000 years. Yeah.
They didn't know many numbers.
Well, it's like like a wife tells to his husband, to her husband, like, I've told you 100 times already, close the door, right? It was only one time before, but it is 100 times. Yeah. Of course, thing is that it's not it's not exaggeration. It's just a way of saying that you have to pay attention to it already. You have to pay attention to it. And when the Bible tells that one day is 1,000 years and vice versa, it only gives us opportunity to pay attention what was happening or what is happening during that great period of time.
But they had no idea that 1 billion exists, such a number, right?
Well, no, of course not. So Orthodox views range from open dialogue with science to caution about certain scientific ideas. So you have to keep this in mind. I mean, these 4 points, I would suggest that you keep this in mind, that God created everything. It has to be in that theory. If the theory is including God in it, has God included in it, it's worth of thinking about. If not, well, let's just be humble enough and wait until we go there and we ask God if it's still important for us then. How many years it took you to create this world? Or I doubt that we will be interested in those questions, in the answers to those questions. Humanity is unique and made in Christ's image and his likeness. All the matter is good, and that our calling is communion with God. So if these 4 points are met, then we can accept that theory of creation of the world. We can accept any theory of creation of the world. It can sound reasonable to us, of course, just as human beings. But as Orthodox Christians, we have to include God into that, because we believe that this world was created by God. Genesis isn't a science book. It's a theological story showing that creation is good, ordered, and purposeful. God speaks and it's done, yeah, for the purpose. Then historical Adam and Eve. About a year ago, I was confronted with a question: do you actually believe that Adam was a historical figure? I said, well, basically, you can believe both ways here. Our church says that there is our forefather Adam, yeah, as a single person, right? But our church also teaches that Adam, it could be people, viewed as people, understood as people as well. And if you paid attention to the first chapter and the second chapter of Genesis, different creations. In one creation, God creates only Adam, the man, and then takes his rips his rib out of him and creates for him the person that tells him that 100 times already closed the door, his woman, right? And another story, and a very next chapter, it says, and God created them both, male and female, together. Even the Bible says together.
Yeah.
But there it says only one, and then there's one.
Sorry.
Yeah,
What
okay.
about genealogy of Christ that dates back to Adam?
Yeah, that's why.
It's like a
No. Yeah, it's a person, of course. We believe that Adam is a person. Yeah, strictly. But we also believe that Adam could be referred to as people as well. But in our case, we know for sure that Adam was a person. Yeah, it's just that in the Bible, well, not in the translation, but in the Hebrew Bible, let's say, when you read, you would come across similar words that express singular and plural person and people, right? It's already our translation that kind of made sure that we are on the same page, everybody on the same page. But at that time, they had to go to school. Well, what school? They didn't have schools. They had to be taught by their Pharisees how to believe. So Saint Basil and Saint John Chrysostom, you know these two saints for sure. They treat Adam and Eve as both real and symbolic. It doesn't mean they reject that Adam and Eve were real. It means, sometimes we give an example when you have children playing and somebody doesn't know how to use that toy, and you tell them, you do like that, like he does it, right? So his actions are symbol to my child, how my child should use the toy. But at the same time, that person is a separate person, an individual person. So in this way, St. Basil the Great and John Chrysostom show that it is important, they say, that we realize that Adam and Eve are both real and symbolic, because their life can be used as a symbol to be applied into somebody else's life to avoid some problems that they created for themselves. Adam and Eve created for themselves. So some fathers saw creation as having built-in potential for growth. That's why the Orthodox Church, well, no, that's why. Because the Orthodox Church believes that creation is not a one-time deal, the fathers explain it, that we have potential, lots of potential to change. And that's why God can use this potential to help us change and to bring us back to, as I said, as many times as it is needed, to help us fix our situation in order to enter that happiness in the heavenly kingdom. So evolution isn't automatically wrong unless it denies God and his part, his guidance, his purpose, and the uniqueness of humanity. Otherwise, it's wrong. If there is no God, it's wrong from our point of view. From the scientific point of view, we are wrong, right? So, as we know that Orthodoxy doesn't just aim to reconcile science and faith, it points to a greater goal. While science does not think about the goal, why, what was the reason, what is the final point of creation, they just kind of dive deep into the matter that they work with, right? But the Orthodox Church points towards the goal of creation, the transformation by grace. So there is a reason. That's why we say that the Orthodox Church believes that there was a reason behind the creation of this world. Knowing that we will go sideways, he puts a great, beautiful reason, transformation. Because without that transformation, it would not be possible for us to go back and reunite ourselves with Christ. So Orthodox Church, in few words, does not reject science. Rather, it insists on a sacramental, liturgical, and Christocentric cosmos. Not that it could not be done in the way the science says. It could be done in the way the science says, but just introduce God into it and see how God, where his part was in it, what he did during this, well, let's say Big Bang or evolution, biological evolution, right? The destiny of the world is in its transfiguration possible in Christ. So this is how we see that God created this world knowing that we will fall, knowing that we will need help, knowing that God will have to guide us throughout the history of mankind. And we are not preoccupied with how many years from the creation of the world. This is not ours to decide. And I'll tell you why. Because it can look funny when we use science to, let's say, to determine the Shroud of Turin, how old it is, right? We use science, right? They determined that it is more or less close to the time, maybe not exactly, but to the time, close to the time. And yet when we talk about the creation of the world, we reject science. We said, no, they cannot tell us exactly how long it was created. So we're kind of picky. We pick, it looks like we are picky, but actually church never was. And even now, church is not picky. Church accepts everything where we can place God as the creator, humans as a special created people for reflecting God and his love through grace. And if we have this, then it's good. Yeah. So what is billion year for God? Nothing. He just we can't even say it's a second for him, because it's nothing for him. For us, it's a billion years, but not for him. So let us remember this, that creation of Adam and creation, new creation after the incarnation of the Son of God, it brings us to the understanding that God's providence has been leading us throughout the entire history of humankind, and will be leading us, continue leading us until the end of the world into the heavenly kingdom, until we enter the heavenly kingdom. So this God's providence is important to keep in mind. Otherwise, the Old Testament and New Testament, it's hard to put them together and hard to see how they work together. And you probably heard about the Montanism in the early Christian era, early Christian ages. When Montanus, there was a heretic who rejected the Old Testament altogether because he said, God of Old Testament is cruel. I don't want, that's not our God. Our God only is Jesus Christ, and that's it. Montanus. And this idea was rejected on the Ecumenical Council, yeah. And he was proclaimed a heretic. So we need to keep this in mind, that every part of our human history is filled with God's providence. We will talk, of course, about the language of the Bible, why language is not so lovable in the Old Testament as it is in New Testament, and things like that. But for now, to start our kind of understanding, just let us keep in mind, God is in every single part of our history, from the beginning, from the creation, until the end, until the heavenly kingdom comes in power. God is in every single part of our history. God is there for every single person that has ever going to be born, will ever be born on this earth, and was born on this earth in the past. God is there for us, period. And when we realize this, then we read the Old Testament with new glasses, with glasses that gives us opportunity to distinguish between what was human put into that Old Testament and what was from God, actually. We will try to determine many things, but for now it's enough.